I mean, all of this off of one land. That's the power of affinity, everybody. I think we got him already right here. We actually don't even need a swing, but we're just going to swing anyway. Okay, about it. We will sacrifice this Bomat Courier. We lose the cards, but we actually don't even care at this point. We're just going to close them out here. Ooh, they do want to block, but that's fine. Sacrifice our Ornithopter. And there we go, everybody. Victory. We got him. All right. Hello, my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the hottest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, as of the posting of this video, we are super deep into the spoiler season for Tarkir Dragonstorm. But before we start building some of the decks that are focused on that set, let's see if we can jump into one more Ether Drift-ish set before the next one debuts. Vroom, vroom. So, without further ado, join me today in the Timeless format for a deck that's going all in on Artifact Affinity, and a deck that I am simply calling Affinity Blast. Longtime viewers of the channel know how we do it. We have to talk about the stats of the deck before we dive right in. So our Affinity Blast deck is going to be primarily Grixis colors of blue, black, red, and a lot of colorless support. We're looking at an average mana curve of about 2.4, which is a little deceiving, but I'll explain how that works later on into the deck tech. We have a total of 28 creatures in the deck, 8 instants, 48 artifacts, and 17 lands. Affinity Blast, as the name suggests, is going to try to take advantage of the affinity mechanic. In other words, we're going to try to vomit out of our hand every single artifact we can onto the battlefield as fast as possible. With every artifact we have on the battlefield, we'll be able to then cast bigger artifact spells for a much cheaper cost. Then we're going to try to do as much damage as fast as possible, and once we get to the right threshold, we can use a couple of splashy burn spells to do a massive damage to our opponent's face to close out the game before our opponent has any time to react. But you may be asking yourself right now, how is this possible in the most powerful format in Arena with only a budget of about 12 rares?
Good question.
Well, I'm glad you asked. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show you how this deck is meant to work. Starting in the 1-drop slot here with a 0 artifact, it's going to be Ornithopter here. Free spell, doesn't really do any damage, but it's a decent blocker, and of course it just helps us get the affinity mechanic going. Also, we'll be utilizing Bomat Courier here, a 1-drop little 1/1 hasty construct here. As it attacks, you can exile cards on the top of your library face down underneath it. We can't look at the card, but of course, once we need to, you can sacrifice this Courier when the discard your hand, and then we get to put all of the exile cards underneath it back into our hand. And to provide a little extra support, we'll also utilize Gingerbread here, a 1-mana 1/1 hasty food golem. If we do activate its first ability here, it is unblockable except against creatures that have haste. And if we need to, maybe later on, we can also stabilize with the secondary ability to sacrifice it to gain 3 life. Going into 2 and 4-drop slots here, we'll utilize Vault Scourge here. Technically, you can actually cast this for only 1 mana if we are willing to pay the Phyrexian mana cost of 2 life. It has flying, it has lifelink, so it's great for, again, stabilization, and it also is an evasive flyer. Speaking of evasive flyers, one of our first affinity cards here is going to be Refurbished Familiar here. It's the Zombie Rat, 2/1, it has flying, and when it enters for each opponent, we have to make them discard a card. If they can't discard a card, we can then simply draw a card. So just provide a little extra utility for us. And then finally, in the 7-drop slot here, although you're obviously not going to cast these for 7 mana, we will have Thought Monitor here. Also has affinity for artifacts. It's a flyer for 2/2, and when it enters, you get to draw 2 cards. Ideally, you hopefully want to be able to cast this for only 1 mana. Speaking of cheapening costs here, we'll also use Frogmere Enforcer here, but this one is actually a unique one because it also has the prototype mechanic. In other words, you could either cast it for its cheaper cost of 4 mana and make it a prototype 2/2, or you can cast it for 7 mana and have it a 4/4. Depending on how many artifacts you have out at any point in the game, this again scales up very, very well with our game plan. For the non-creature spells to provide us a little extra support here, we'll utilize one of our free artifacts, Mishra's Bauble here. You can sacrifice this artifact at any time at instant speed to either take a peek at the top of any player's library, either ours or our opponent's, and then at the beginning of the next upkeep, whether it's ours or our opponent's, we can simply draw a card. We'll also utilize here Springleaf Drum. This is one of our few artifacts here that we will utilize to help kind of make sure our mana is fixed just to what we need. Of course, the real stars of the show are going to be our 2 main burn spells, which are both blast cards, Galvanic Blast and Shrapnel Blast. Galvanic Blast simply reads that it can deal 2 damage to any target, and it also has the Metalcraft ability. In other words, it'll deal 4 damage instead if we control 3 or more artifacts, which will be no problem for this deck. However, our biggest burn spell is going to be Shrapnel Blast here. This is a 2-mana instant that reads, we have to sacrifice an artifact at an additional cost to cast the spell, and then it can deal 5 damage to any target. So, to put it one more time, once we get enough damage in with our weaker creatures here, we should be able to finish off our opponent with a couple of these burn spells to close out the game very, very quickly. As far as the land base is concerned, it is going to be honestly a little bit clunky looking, but it somehow does work. So hear me out on this for a sec. We're going to be utilizing Silver Bluff Bridge and Dross Forge Bridge. Both of these are artifact lands, so it does help cheapen the cost of our affinity creatures. However, both of them will come into play tapped. Speaking of tapped lands, we'll also be utilizing here Scene of the Crime. Same thing. Although it comes into play tapped, we can also utilize it later on to tap an untapped creature we control to fix our mana to what we need. For additional mana fixing, we'll also utilize here Spire of Industry. Of course, for this, we will have to pay 1 life in order to do so. And to round out our package, our only other artifact land will be Darksteel Citadel. If you are interested in taking this in best of 3, here's what I would recommend to you for your sideboard. So for Graveyard here, we'll utilize Stormwatch Crypt. We have a very, very low mana count, so we're going to try to go with a free spell in here instead to make it work. We'll also utilize 2 copies of Cranial Ram here. This is actually a very, very powerful equipment here. We'll give one of our creatures +X+1, where X is the number of artifacts we control. We'll also utilize copies of Ferocity of the Wilds here. This allows us to give us a little extra pump and give all of our creatures trample to push through extra damage if we want to be more aggro. If we're trying to outgrind our opponent here, we'll utilize copies of Oni Cult Anvil here. We can sacrifice artifacts, but then they can come back with creating some constructs here, and also we'll get some life gain and drain against more of those longer matchups. And to round out our package, we'll have copies of Metallic Rebuke as our choice of a counterspell here, thanks to the improvise ability, which other words means if we can tap some extra artifacts, this will be only 1 mana to cast this counterspell against our opponents. And that is otherwise the whole deck for you, everybody, so I don't know about you, but I'm super duper excited to play this deck right here and right now. So let's not waste any more time. Let's take this into the Timeless format and let's see how well the deck can do. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content. You can support me monthly for a small amount on Patreon, where I have all of my extended bonus footage posted. We also have a Redbubble spot where you can buy merch like stickers and shirts, or for free, all you can just do also is just join our growing community on Discord. Your support helps keep this channel going. All links are in the details below. All right, my fire friends, here we go. Can we use Affinity to then just beat down our opponent and blast them away with some burn spells? Well, from what we see right here, it's going to be, again, a little slow because of the tap land, but we technically can get there with what we have. We're going to hold this, and we'll see if we can try to pull it off. Refurbish Familiar by turn 2 should, in theory, be only 1 mana. Oh, okay. Well, that actually helps us out a bit here. So here's how we do this. Dross Forge, Ornithopter, Mishra's Bauble, all right, and pass. Okay, that actually helped us out quite a bit there. Enterprising Scallywag. Waiting for fetch lands to make treasures? We'll see where this goes. Okay, Vault Scourge. So with that, let's play Springleaf Drum. And we will play Refurbish Familiar. Goes on to discard a card. Alright, and we pass. If our opponent has no removal, this actually should be a good turn coming up here, even if we are unable. Alright, we pass. Do you trigger Braids, opponent? They do not. Okay, well that's good. That's good for us. Okay, so with that, Ornithopter. We will pay with the Springleaf Drum. Draw 2 cards. Oh, man, we still did not get a land off of that, so that's a little awkward, but that's okay. This is fine. We will pay the 2, and then tap our other Ornithopter. Okay, we'll see. The deck is still kind of doing stuff. Down to 18. I mean, all of this off of 1 land.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
That's the power of Affinity, everybody. Win or lose, this still looks pretty good and kind of an impressive thing for such a budget deck. Okay, Terran's Journal. Ooh, opponent is getting a little frisky here and trying to swing. Okay, we will not block because we do need everything online for now. Lash of the Balrog. Okay, well, okay, that's a choice. The good news, at least about this point in our match, is we actually have enough artifacts out. We should be able to now sacrifice the Mishra's Bauble on our own. We should be able to get another bit of card draw off of this. Okay, so we pay it off. Okay, Slow, but it does technically work. So let's do this. Bowmat Courier. We will Galvanic Blast away the Braids. Much better. Braids is down. And then we will convert over... We'll convert our other Ornithopter. So now we have... Now we're on the offense here. This is what you want the deck to do. Much better. Out of 13 opponents. And we still have at least another Shrapnel Blast, so we are almost in range. Opponents only got 2 cards in hand, no card draw. Ooh, involuntary employment. Interesting. Okay. That was annoying, but... I mean, okay. We'll see where this goes. Ginger Brute. We will swing again with everything. We have to try to close this out quick. Down to 9. Okay, so either one of our Bowmat Couriers we can sack if we need to just hopefully beat down our opponent here. Oh, so close here. I think we could finally get a win off of this. Greedy Freeboater. Last card in hand, opponent. Cutthroat Centurion. Okay. Let's not seen this at all. Our opponent's got a cute little budget deck here. Okay, so let's see. We'll do this here. Okay. Okay. I think we got him already right here. We actually don't even need a swing, but we're just going to swing anyway. Okay, opponent. Anything? Do they block? That should put us in range here, so... We will sacrifice this Bowmat Courier. We lose the cards, but we actually don't even care at this point. We're just going to close them out here. Down to 4. Down to 1. No matter what they do next turn, we should have got them. Although I realized that we probably could have gotten them last turn if I didn't tap the Ornithopters, but I don't think it doesn't matter at this point. Unless they have life gain, we've got this. Ooh, they took our Thought Monitor. Well, that's annoying, but still, doesn't matter. Swing, swing. I mean, that's fine. We don't care. Ooh, okay. That pump was a little scary, but it's still not enough. Victory goes to us this turn. That's right, opponent. Yeah. You know what? That's fine. You can take that. And with that, let's just throw this down just because. And we swing here for the win. Single Bowmat Courier off the top. Ooh, they do want to block, but that's fine. Sacrifice our Ornithopter. And there we go, everybody. Victory. We got him. All right. Nice. But there you go, everybody. Early game damage as fast as possible. Save your big burn spells for when you really need them to just burn out your opponent. And victory is yours. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we get a victory with all artifact and burn game plan? Well, we do have actually quite a few good artifacts we can use. Maybe we might be able to go off with this. Let's see. 1 tap land, 1 Spire of Industry. So I think that should be okay. So we'll do it this way. Spire. Ornithopter. Spring Leaf Drum. And we pass. Okay, opponent, what do you got? Show me.
Bring it on.
Okay. Seat a Synod. I keep forgetting this is actually a thing in the game. Oh, Chromox also, so... Ugh. Let's see if they're going to try to pull off some unfair stuff here. Tameo. Okay, so with that... Mishra's Bauble. Ooh. Paladin is also trying to go off with their own thing. Frogmite, wow. Okay, let's see. Can we outdo them? I guess we'll find out here. So with that... Refurbish Familiar. Whatever their last card is, we can at least throw it away, so hopefully it's not something... Okay, so it was just a tap land there. Okay. So with that, let us take out Tameo. Okay, well that's down at least, so... Threat down, but our opponent looks like they're trying to do the same thing we are, except at a much higher budget level, if you will. Frogmite, number 2, and an Ornithopter. Okay, well, this is now going to be an awkward fight of attrition here, because at least if we take out their artifacts, we should be okay for a little bit longer. Refurbish Familiar. So even though they can't lose a card, we at least gain a card, so this does help us out a little bit here. Okay. Draw another card. And you'll see, right, this is the reason why we're using Refurbished Familiar versus Frogmite. Also because Frogmite it costs a mythic. No! But realistically, not only is this cheaper, but as you can see, it does provide us that little bit of extra utility that we've been looking for. Alright, opponent, what else you got? Just a tap land, nothing more on our opponent? Alright. Well, this is now starting to go a little bit more our favor. 2 swings, no blocks opponent? Okay, well that's fine. It is tempting to take out the other Frogmite right now, but we need to hold the Shrapnel Blast in case they have another Tameo to worry about. So, that's why we're waiting. Down to 17. Frogmite again. Okay, so, Ooh, they sacrifice it. Okay, well, that is a choice. Tameo again. So, same thing, we gotta get rid of Tameo here. This means we will lose an artifact, but I think we should be okay here. Sacrifice our Ornithopter. Tameo down. Okay, well, slowly but surely, we just have to outrace them. I suppose you can argue right now this is a version of this deck that you can upgrade into if you really want to. I mean, with the Chromoxes that I honestly don't want to spend money on, but you can if you really want to go all out with this deck if you want to upgrade. But I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I mean, well, obviously we'll talk about this stuff in the wrap-up. Okay, Scene of the Crime. We'll sacrifice that now. Draw a card. Okay, Bowback Courier's not horrible. We could use the chump block for a little bit. Dark Steel. Down to 8. We are closing in. The land is actually, it's meant to be played. You can't cast it. So, I think our opponent kind of fumbled on that. They swing. No block still. Down to 9. I'm not sure why they keep swinging with Ornithopter. They could use that to chump block us, so they have to. Stonecoil Serpent. Okay. Interesting choice, but okay. Ginger Brute. This actually might be helpful. Swing here for 5. You will get 1 card exiled. Opponent? Okay, well, I guess we'll sacrifice it now. Throw away the land we don't need. Okay, so we did get something good out of that. Down to 4. Okay. Nice! Big Frogmere Enforcer, and pass. So if we need to stabilize, Gingerbread will stay open right here so we can gain some life back. Okay, opponent actually now got the right artifact this time. Mishra's Bauble. Okay, tap land. Opponent. Oh, they are swinging. Okay, well, we'll block here. Block here. Okay, I think we got him. Down to 7. All right, unless if they got anything else, which I don't think they will. Even if they sacrifice their Mishra's Bauble, I really doubt they'll have anything on this turn. So I think that is game, everybody. Big swing here, and there you go. We outdid the upgraded version of our deck. All right, not too shabby, right? See? Even on a budget, you can still get some wins here in Timeless, just with a little bit of clever deck building, if you will. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we get a victory using Affinity and some blast spells? Well, looks like we haven't had quite a few clunky tap lands, but it comes with the territory of this deck. But we do have ways of getting that cost down for some of our artifacts here, so you know what? Let's keep this. I still feel pretty good about this. Hopefully...
I'm in danger!
Against my better judgment, let's go ahead, let's see if we can pull something off here. Darksteel Citadel, Ginger Brute, swing, down to 19. Okay, so which one was going to cheat things out faster? Probably not going to be us, though. Okay, making land, Onslaught Pride. Okay, well, we will see if we can some way, somehow get around this. Okay, Steam Vents. Opponent's going to swing. No blocks. 19, they gain some life, and here come the shenanigans. Territory Kavu. Yep, we make a cat token. Okay. As optimistic as I like to be, I don't know why I'm actually playing this right now, but we'll see. Alright, we'll play Vault Scourge. Alright. And refurbish Familiar. We will tap down our Ginger Brute. Make them discard a card. It's not like we're dead, so our only hope at this point is just going to be to just, I don't know, maybe blow out their creatures, I suppose. Down to 16, down to 10. Territorial cover number 2. Ugh. 1, I think we could have dealt with, but not 2 Kavus, but we'll try. Frogmere Enforcer. Okay. Swing with our only 2 cards we can. Down to 16. And pass. Okay, opponents. Any more broken stuff?
No, God!
I'm not even going to scream this time. Is there any way out of this at all? Or am I honestly at this point just kind of spinning my wheels? Okay. Whatever they do, they don't want to get rid of the cards they have in their hands, so... Okay, what do we sacrifice at this point? I guess sacrifice a Ginger Brute. Not quite what I want to do. But we can get rid of 1 Kavu. 1 down. Kavu again. Actually, hold on. Actually, just leave it as is. They gain some life. Go down to 4. But we take out 1 Ocelot Pride. So it's not like we're dead, but it's going to be very hard at this point to go anywhere else. Okay, so with that, we swing with 2 cards here. Down to 14, we go up to 5. Literally an uphill battle at this point. They sacrifice their Flooded Strand. They will gain a... What was that? Oh, Xander's Lounge. Tribal Flame. Of course. Okay, well, our only means of defense right now is now pretty much dead at this point. Wait, actually, I probably could have sacrificed that. Never mind. I mean, either way, there's not much hope at this point. Alright, exile the card. So block here, block here. We will sacrifice Kavu. Sacrifice the Ornithopter. Okay. Kavu down, but we're literally hanging on by a thread right now. Down to 1. Ugh. Okay. Okay. Again, not dead, but we're going to try. Tap this down, Thought Monitor. Draw 2. Okay. Well, let's have to pass here. So, Ocelot Pride, number 3. Okay. Can we survive here? Block the Ocelot Pride. Vault Scourge takes that out. And Refurbished Familiar takes the other one out. Alright. So at this point, we will take out the remaining Ocelot Pride. 1 card in hand, opponent. What else could you possibly have? Or at least this prevents them from getting any more cat tokens. They will still get 1 there. We go -1, 0, but it's still not enough. Literally, that was the most uphill battle, and it was just, there really was a way for us to survive. Mostly that was just, again, to show you what our deck is weak to, but, I mean, it is what it is. Now, as upgrades for the deck, here's what I would recommend for you. Honestly, there's really not too many things you can upgrade with this deck to make it really much more powerful, but there are going to be some minor tweaks you can upgrade with the deck. So, for the land base, you can add in a single copy of the Mirex. This also can fix you at least for 1 turn for the mana you do need, and also in the late game, if you are kind of struggling a little bit, you can actually make some Phyrexian Mites that can kind of help implement a little bit more of a go-wide strategy if, again, the board gums up. You can also upgrade to Blink Moth Nexus here. This is actually a pretty solid land here. I actually love what this land could do here. So this one on its own can become a 1/1 artifact creature with flying, so it gives you something a little bit of evasion, and if you manage to have at least 1 extra copy out, you can then tap one of your other Blink Moth Nexus cards to then give one of your other Blink Moth creatures a +1/+1 pump, although it does sound as convoluted as you may think it does, so your mileage may vary, but again, it's not a requirement. Everything otherwise is pretty solid already as is in the deck. As far as the upgrades for the sideboard, again, it's not going to be anything super crazy, but a single copy of the One Ring, even if you don't like it, we have to admit that at least 1 copy sometimes could mean the difference between protecting yourself for a turn and then hopefully maybe drawing a card or 2 that you may need to then close out the game. Speaking of, again, making sure that we can just protect our game plan, we'll also add in copies of Winter Cursed Rider here, a card that you may not expect that actually works very well actually in this deck. So pull this out. You can give all of your artifacts a bit of protection by giving them Ward Pay 2 life, which again, you want to try to lower your opponent's life as fast as possible. And with the exhaust ability, if you manage to pull this off in the late game, if you just need to protect your whole game plan, you can basically just exile some artifact cards and then maybe give all of your enemies non-artifact creatures minus max X. So sometimes that could just either soften up enough creatures so you can get through with your other smaller artifact creatures, or just be just enough to then just hopefully wrath the whole board and then close out the game. And with that all out of the way, here are my final thoughts that I want to give on this deck. I honestly have a little bit more of a soft spot for this deck because it really is based upon a paper version that I have already in my collection. With, of course, the difference is we do have a couple pieces that I would wish would come into this, but even without a key card or two that I have in paper that is not in Arena, as you saw today, the deck still functions very well. It provides a lot of surprising effects that most opponents may not be prepared for when they play in the Timeless format. So, if I were to put this another way, if you're a fan of the affinity mechanic, if you're a fan of artifact aggro strategies, and if you're a fan of a strategy where you can just do a little bit of extra damage and then surprise your opponent out of the way with some big burn spells, then I would definitely say, give this deck a try. And I assure you, when you manage to then flip the script on your opponent, when you can do a bit of damage with your creatures, sacrifice a couple of them for value, and then just burn them out with some big spells, you're going to have a lot of fun doing so, and you'll be very surprised at how you can pull this off on a budget. And when you manage to dump out your entire hand of artifacts for next to nothing, you will definitely not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later.